Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the MSA podcast. My name is Leanne and I'm going to be your host for the day. Our guest today is a student who at the very beginning of her medical school journey decided to start her own public health awareness account, as she believed it was something that we needed as a community. Through her stories, Sarah told us about what it takes to start your own platform and what difficulties can come with it. Her experience was certainly a living proof of how consistency can take you a long way. But that was not all, because Sarah was also one of the youngest females in the country to get a private pilot license. So tune in with us to hear more about her stories. And without further ado, this is Sarah. Assalamu alaikum, Sarah.
Alaikum salam.
How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm excited.
We're super excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
So just to bring it a little bit backwards, me and Sarah were talking about how we met the first time. So let me tell you the story. About 2 years ago, we were at this event. I'll tell you the name of the event afterwards, but we met at an event and you were fresh at uni. You were a freshman, very brand new. And we just had this conversation about a random thing. And then you started telling me about your Haque account. I think you had just started it. You had almost no followers. You had no posts at it. I think it was very few, both posts and followers. And you were explaining to me what Haque is and how passionate you are about it and the whole idea of it. And you asked me to follow the account, right?
I was promoting.
Yes, you were. I think you were at the promotion stage. Yes. So you asked me to follow it. And I did, obviously. And then I remember the first thing I thought about is how passionate this person is about an account, especially that you were very fresh at uni. And honestly, even if I speak from an experience, usually students don't get very involved or passionate about something at very early stages of uni, especially talking about as a personal experience. It took me 2 years to start wanting to get involved. So that was very, very exciting, honestly. And now, fast forward 2 years later, you're our guest on the podcast to tell us about your account, Haque, and obviously so much more. But starting with Haque, what would you tell us about it if, for those who don't know what it is?
I think it was very interesting that you said that I spoke about the account, because a lot of the time, I remember especially early on, I would not talk about it because it was something so sacred to me, and I just wanted to be separated from the account because I wanted people to take it seriously, and I didn't want my name associated with it. So I feel like we must have had a really good conversation if I told you.
Yeah, it was a very interesting one.
I started the account back when it was around COVID time, and I remember there were posts circulating. There was this particular post that always boiled my blood a little bit. It was about the efficacy of masks, and they were trying to promote the usage of masks, but the statistics were all wrong. I remember it had an image of one person, two people not wearing a mask, and they were transmission is 100%. One person wearing a mask, transmission is 75%, and then both people wearing a mask, transmission is 0% or something. And I saw my friends, my teachers, a lot of people reposting it. And I remember thinking wait, there's nothing to back this up. And when I would do a little bit more research, it was proven to be false. And I remember from there, I started to kind of post on my own in a non-patronizing way. Hey, this isn't right, And I would start, and then I would find more posts that I thought were beneficial, and I would just kind of repost it, or articles, and I would just kind of make a little synopsis and post it on my story, because that back then it was the beginning of COVID and everyone was kind of confused and scared, especially in Saudi. You didn't, not until a couple months after March did you have that much information. Now we can get information left and right, subhanallah. The ministry did an incredible job, and I'm honored to even be contributing to any source of or flow of information in here. But back then it was a really iffy time, and it got to the point where I was you know what, why don't I just post this somewhere? So that's where the idea of Haque came out of. It came out of just pure I'm doing this anyways, let me just post it somewhere, and maybe people will find it beneficial, because I saw people screenshotting my story, and I'm okay, wait, let me try to like make this a platform for people. And I expected it to just be like a month-long thing, and then khalas, like I'll leave it alone. But after a while, I started to realize like there was so much information out there, but there wasn't information that was like personalized to Saudi. So you would see like all of these statistics that were saying like, oh yeah, like in the US or in the UK, you know, this is where you can go get a COVID test, or, you know, this is where you can go get a vaccine. This is how you can sign up to get an appointment. But there wasn't anything specialized for Saudi unless like, you know, you looked for it or you followed the ministry page, or, you know, there wasn't something like mainstream media. So I just kind of saw it as a way of like, okay, like I'm doing my own research. Why not like help other people find this information too in a concise kind of manner? And yeah, that's where the idea came from, and that's how I started it.
Can I just say I love the name? I really, really do. Okay, so when you started the idea of the account and decided, okay, you want this account to be real, and started working on it, how did that happen? Did you tell anyone about it? Did you want to start a team, or was it just you at the beginning?
So I would say, like I told you in the beginning, I was very self-conscious of the account. And I did not want to tell anyone that it was for me, because I was like, I am a fresh high school graduate. Like, no one is going to take me seriously at all if this girl starts like spewing like medical information.
So that was like literally like first year.
Yeah.
Right? And during COVID.
Yeah,
like
during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like very conscious of it, and I just said like, okay, I'm not gonna tell anyone it's my name, it's my account. My mom didn't even know. She found out through like a colleague of hers. She was like, what are you doing?
That's nice.
So I initially had kept it all on my own, and I would like for fun, like I was in that whole like, I'm a fresh, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to med school, like I'm gonna look at research papers and I'm going to start publishing. And alhamdulillah, I ended up doing that. But like I was like reading papers for fun. Everyone would tell me like, you're gonna, like this phase of yours, it's gonna die off after a while, like you're not gonna find it enjoyable and things. And but I continued to pursue that, and alhamdulillah, like it became like what it is right now, like resource-backed information in like short, concise, like nice designed Instagram
yes, we'll talk
posts.
about that. We'll talk about the posts, definitely.
And then eventually I realized that like the whole like there is a lot of like information out there in English, but there's not a lot in Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like a very big, you know, information gap that like, you know, there are only so many like Arabic sources that give like, you know, reliable information, not like WhatsApp forwarding messages information, reliable information that like is also, you know, short, concise, and like nicely designed and appealing and all of that. So my friend Sara Al-Harthi, we both she found out about the account during like a comm project booth that we were doing together, and she wanted to help contribute, and she helped with like the translations.
So how long after you started the account did you invite your friend to be a part of your
I think
team,
it was like maybe a year or 6 months after.
So you were doing it on your own for a year?
Yeah. And then alhamdulillah, like Sara came, and she's equally as passionate. She reads like the most interesting novels every time I see her. Like she is just like a literature, like beautiful. She's just great at like words, and had to like Arabic words as well. So she was just a great addition, and she's equally as passionate, and I love working with her.
Impressive, honestly.
She is.
So I get it. Now I kind of get the purpose of the account and why you wanted to start it on the first place. But we can't deny the fact that we do have a lot of like public health awareness accounts and everything. And I really like how you said you wanted to target the population here in Saudi Arabia mainly. But would you say that's the main reason your account would stand out amongst the other ones?
That is a good point. And I think I tend to have like moments where I'm like, this is pointless. Like, you know, there is a lot of information out there, and what's the point? Like, you know, other accounts are doing just the same thing as I am, or even like as much as I try to personalize it, as much as I try to like make it unique, there's always going to be that like information out there. So I think what separates my account from anyone else's, it's nothing really. Like it would just be that I'm doing it for the purpose of like helping people, and I don't really care about like whether or not it's going to be as popular or whether it's going to be as like accomplished. You know, I'm doing my research and I'm finding information on things that I think that would be that would be interesting and like beneficial to people, and whether or not they decide to like read that information or not, like doesn't concern me. Like inshallah, like if it helps one person, that would be, you know.
I like that. I like that you have this idea in mind that your account doesn't have to stand out as long as you're doing it for a purpose. Good for you. Really. So, okay, so just to confirm, as of right now, it's only you and your friend Sarah Al-Harthi, right?
Yes.
It's only you on the team. It's really nice. So how do you pick a topic? Because I did some stalking to the account, obviously.
Yeah.
And I've been following it again for 2 years. The variation in the topics is really wide. Like you have topics from just you know, general public health awareness posts, so different things or trends that are coming out in the world, or specific topics that, you know, just basically trending at that time. So how do you pick the topic?
I think you used the right word. Like, not, I wouldn't say trending because I don't know if health is trending, but you're right. Like I see what you mean.
Things
like
that happen. I've seen some posts about like certain things that happen at that time, and you want to talk about it.
You're right. Yeah.
Yes.
I would say, I tend to kind of go with. Usually, some people reach out to me on DMs and they're like, you know, I think this would be a good topic for you to cover, or like, you know, for example, during like when I was promoting some of the different mental health clinics like available in Saudi, some people were like asking if we can like dive into certain like conditions and like talk about their prevalence in the country, in the kingdom. So through DMs, I would say is one. Another one is using the ministry website and seeing like what are the most prevalent conditions that are in the kingdom. And on top of that, like I would also look at like awareness months. So I would have like a calendar of all of the different health awareness days and months, and I would try to like coordinate the posts with those so that it would, you know, like it would, for example, I think this month is cervical cancer awareness month, and I'm speaking to inshallah like a OBGYN and in King Faisal, and we're going to do an interview with her, and also with the foundation. I have to be honest, I forgot the name of it. It started with an R.
It's okay.
This hopefully we'll collaborate with them on another post. So yeah, like try to go with like the health days of like the year and make it pertinent. Like I think during the World Cup, like I was like, okay, let's go into like what you can do if like there's a football injury, like what are the common football injuries, and like try to go with like trends like you said.
Yeah, so not necessarily health, as you said, doesn't trend. It's always there, but like specific times of the year, you like to follow that. So how would you say that your schedule of like maintenance is? Like how often do you post? How do you do the whole thing? I
have been trying to do it like Thursday, Friday, Saturday posts. But I think something I like always have to kind of like remind myself is that I'm a student first, and sometimes I do have to prioritize like my studies, and I do have to, you know, work, and it frustrates me because I'm like, I want to do this. I have on my phone, if you see my notes app, it is filled with like just random thoughts that I have throughout the day where I'm like, oh, I could do a post on this, or I can do a post on this. And sometimes I'm like, okay, take a breath. What's like important? What can I address right now? What do I have time for? And yeah, even though I wish I could, you know, cover every topic on the earth, I think like inshallah with time, like it'll slowly get there.
Inshallah. You never know.
You never know.
So I think we mentioned something about the design of your posts. They're amazing. Honestly, the coloring, just the whole ideas and everything. Who does that? Is there like a specific someone, or is it just you, mashallah?
I do the designs.
You do that on your own, mashallah.
Yeah. I always like, you know, my family has like this like joke in the house that like, you know, never look at the furniture too long. It's probably going to be like placed somewhere else. And because it's a thing that my family says is because I love like design and I love like interior design and I love, you know, like the meticulous like collection of colors and like all of that. So I think it also gave me like a place to kind of healthcare kind of gave me a place to kind of like let that artistic side of me out. And
so did you start learning how to like design posts and everything after you started the account, or was it vice versa?
I would say before I was very like in high school, I was very involved in clubs and things. And I always felt like I didn't have enough like, you know, creative freedom and doing my own things. So I was like glad to have like healthcare as a way to like exercise that.
Interesting. So you mentioned something about collaborating with you know, a certain organization. So would you see that happening a lot? Like, do you have plans of maybe business collaborations for your account, or is it just pure awareness, not business related at all?
I would say we do have collaborations. So for example, during the we had the mental health awareness day in university. So in like to commemorate that, since they invited healthcare to have a booth at the mental health awareness day, we spoke to different like therapy platforms and mental health platforms that are specific to like the MENA region, specific to like Middle East African region. And we received like promotions and like discounts from them if like they were like followers of healthcare. So like it wasn't so much to like provide a discount. It was so much to like kind of like let people be aware that like there are, you know, solutions like therapy solutions that are specific to this region. And I think like the whole purpose behind like the booth was to kind of show that like, yeah, like you have options that are here. And like the whole purpose of healthcare being involved in that was that like therapy is not a cheap, you know, solution. And yeah, specifically cognitive behavioral therapy, like that's not a cheap solution, even though it's something that like even people who haven't necessarily gone through some trauma like still need to experience at some point in their lives. So we wanted to make it like affordable, accessible, and just like have more people become aware of these like options to them.
So how long ago was that booth?
This was last October, November sometime. So this was when we started doing the offers. But before then, we also did like collaborations with, for example, SALT, the Down Syndrome Association. I have to remember some of the other names. Also with the NCBSN, National Mental Health Association, and NMHA with them, and yeah, like so some collaborations here and there.
So basically what happens, I just want to make sure I understand how your collaborations happen. You collaborate with the specific organization and you just spread like awareness about what their contents or whatever they're doing on your account, or is there other ways of like, do you work in other ways? You mentioned something about booths, and I think that's a new one for me.
So with some of the associations, it's more or less just getting the statistics and information that they have, that they've collected, and kind of like regurgitating that into a post, and like spreading information about their association and like promoting their association. This with some of the like partnerships that we've had, where they like gave us like offers for their platforms and things. That would be more of like us contacting them and asking them like, you know, what does your account provide? How can people sign up? Like, why is it beneficial? You know, how can like people like receive support from you? And like, is there any offers that you can give to us, so then like you can help make therapy more accessible and like affordable to people? So those are like the two categories I would say of collaborations. And then you
just use your account to promote all of that. It's really interesting, and I keep going back to the fact that you guys are only two. So you do this whole thing and you collaborate with people and you make booths and accounts and everything. Just two people. Yeah. It's very wow. All right, so yeah, obviously, as we were talking at the like beginning year, when I followed your account, it had like almost yeah, I think it was
negligible.
I don't remember. No, it was no, it's fine. I mean, every account has a start. No one just randomly gets 2,000 plus followers. So you're at a really good place right now, especially with everything you mentioned, like collaborations and all of that. But is it at the stage you have envisioned yet, like 2 years afterwards?
I would say it's very easy to get caught up in that, like, oh, like if you once you reach a certain stage, you're always looking like ahead and you're like, I want to go here, but you never like kind of look back and you're like, okay, like I achieved the goal that I wanted to achieve, and like I can like be like proud of that, and I can be, you know, happy with where I am. I think like there's always going to be a part of me that's like, I want to do more and I need to do more, and sometimes you just have to like sit down and say like, okay, alhamdulillah for where I am, and alhamdulillah, like everything that I'm doing is like, you know, it's still beneficial. I would say like it's not at the point where I would want it to be. I think it's really easy to get caught up with university, and like especially with like blocks being here and there, MSA, all of that. Like it does take away like a lot of the time that I wish I could have spent on health care. But I think like, yeah, like just saying alhamdulillah and saying like, you know, as long as I'm here where I am.
Of course. And again, it's only you two, and you started at a very early stage, and you're still at a an early stage.
Yeah.
You still have a really long way to go, and I think it's just the fact that you're still doing it, and you still have the same like passion for it as you start. Because now I'm remembering the conversation we had. You're still very passionate about it in the very same way. So I really like congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
So Sarah, you've been working on this account for 2 years, and obviously from everything we just talked about, there's a lot that goes into it, and there are certain skills that you've learned and certain skills that you had to learn for the account. How would you say this whole process influenced the person you are today?
I think that's a good question. I remember when I first started this account and I was speaking to my dad. I was saying, Baba, like, these are such simple things. Like, how does no one know this? You know, like this is common sense, no? Like, and he said something that's very typical of him, and like his idioms and his like little proverbs that he drops like here and there, they always stick with me throughout my life. But he said that, like, you know, you can never blame someone for the circumstances of their life, and you cannot like assume that someone will just know this, or someone will just, it's common sense or something, because not everyone lives with the privilege that you live with. Not everyone is like exposed to the information that you're exposed to. Like, alhamdulillah, you're able to like read, write, you're able to like dissect information and figure out what's the truth. But you can't expect everyone to have the time that you have, everyone to have like the knowledge that you have. And I think when I first started the account, I would also, you know, a lot of the frustration that came out of like me wanting to write about like, you know, awareness and the importance of it was seeing how, for example, with breast cancer, if I'm like thinking off the top of my head, the prognosis for breast cancer in Saudi is like towards the more, towards like late stages. It's more towards like fatal stages and incurable stages, while in the US, like it's early stages and more, it's like not just treatable, it's also curable. And I would get frustrated that, like, you know, why can't people just, you know, get over themselves and see a doctor if they have a problem or anything like that? And I think what like working on the account showed me was like, what it kind of taught me to be a little bit more humble, and it taught me that like not everyone will have the, you know, like my dad said, not everyone will have like the knowledge that you do, but just because like you have this knowledge, it's like your like duty, not just as like a medical student, but it's your duty in like in life and Islam, in everything, to spread, you know, your knowledge, to help others in any way you can. And I would say that, yeah, so this account kind of gave me the opportunity to do so. And it kind of made me come to the realization, like, no matter what stage or place someone is in their life, everyone has the right to like be knowledgeable about their health, because in the end of the day, like, no one is going to advocate for you as much as you are going to advocate for yourself about your health. And no one is going to step out of their way, like go out of their way to care for you as much as you are going to care for yourself. So everyone deserves to be like empowered with knowledge. Everyone deserves to have the opportunity and skills to seek knowledge the way I do, or seek knowledge the way like you do. SubhanAllah, you're like a 4th year now. So yeah, I would say that I think if anything, like this account just taught me a lot of humility. It taught me that like I started off with like big dreams and big hopes, but I started to realize that like, okay, I have to take it bit by bit, small by small. I'm not going to reach like this point where I want to reach right now, and that's okay. And I just have to be okay with that.
Yes, of course. I mean, by you studying medicine is also, you're doing great for the world. So thank you. What about the technical part of it? So like you researching and publishing stuff, how would you say that intrigue certain?
I would say definitely. I think I love to write. I think I've always had like a fondness for literature. I would always like kind of joke like to my parents, I'm like, I'm gonna just go get an English degree. I think that would be easier for me. Well, alhamdulillah, like I really like medicine. But I think a lot of like my writer's block would kind of, I would have like very strong writer's block, and a lot of it would come from me just not being able to like, I would have these incredible ideas and I knew exactly how to phrase it, but I would just like, what would stop me is just like the moment I like put my hand to the keyboard, it's like, no, but it's not perfect and it's not like exactly how I want it to be. So I think with Health Khair, like because I have to produce so much like and so often, it just kind of taught me that like it's okay, like when you're researching, like if you have an idea, just like the first step is just putting it on paper, like putting it, or in my case on Canva, but like putting it down and at least like putting it on there. And I think that like solved like 90% of my problems, and it helped make me become a more like avid writer, because I was no longer afraid of like that first step, like that first jump of like, okay, I just like of like putting my idea onto paper. So I think it made me more well versed in like writing and publishing, and being less scared and intimidated of like these big platforms and journals and newspapers, because I'm just kind of like, okay, like this is just another healthcare post, it's okay.
So speaking of newspaper, what can you tell us about Arab News? You have a role in that? You've been involved with?
Yeah, so I was reached out to by one of the, I would say editor, but like one of the, I would call them scouts. I'm just thinking in terms of MSA podcasts, I would say scouts. But I like cited them in one of my posts. So like the lady, like the woman who talked to me was just like, oh, like, you can always be a contributor, like a health contributor. And when I heard that, I left her on red for like 2 months because I was so like scared of the idea of like, oh, like my writing could be somewhere other than on like an Instagram platform.
Why?
I think it comes a lot from like imposter syndrome. Even when I think it comes a lot from when I first started the account, of like not wanting people to know or not wanting my name associated. I just didn't feel like I was competent enough. And I sometimes still feel that way, because I'm like, I'm only a med student. Like when I say this account humbled me, it humbled me. Like there's so much that I know, but there is also so much that I don't know. And I don't want to like be the reason why someone is gets misinformed. But alhamdulillah, like I think I'm more or less like over it. I think like with adequate like editing and preparation, like you can avoid all of the mistakes that like I'm so fearful of it committing. But anyways, when she reached out, like I had like the freedom over like what type of like health contribution I could make. And I think my first post was my first article was back in Ramadan, and it was about blood donation. So I spoke about how, you know, it's very like stigmatized, or like it's very like I don't want to speak to the religious aspect of it because I'm not sure myself, but sometimes like people, there are lower blood donations that happen in Ramadan, and that's something that the blood bank in KFSH, one of the phlebotomists were telling me, that like the donation amounts are much less in Ramadan. And I spoke about in the article that like one of the, we do so many food donations, we go around, like we give everyone a thought and all of that, but like one donation that like is very overlooked upon is blood donations. So I was very proud of that article and like the articles that came after it as well.
So you're now like, you're going to be involved with them for a long time, or is it just like the
it's
stuff you published, or?
It's they give us they give you the freedom of like whenever you want to publish, you can publish. Nice. Whenever you don't, you can.
So I just want to go back to a very interesting point that you talked about, is how, I think it's normal to get overwhelmed, especially when you have audience and you're sharing information to them. You want to know if you're, sharing fully accurate information or not. So how do you like confirm? I think I would like to know that actually.
So I have a document that I link onto Healthcare that has like all of my citations, so all of the like research articles that I get my information from. I would say I confirm just honestly by proofreading, by reading again. Sometimes if I know someone who is like interested in that field, alhamdulillah, we're in like a med school, so like if I know someone who's like an intern or a family member who's like in that profession, I would like quickly have a chat with them, like, hey, like, is this accurate? Am I spreading in misinformation? So I think that's like, it's kind of like an informal way of proofreading, but this is how I like.
And you do it for every single post?
I think a lot of the times I take information like verbatim from articles, so then I don't really worry that much about like the spread of misinformation, but it's like more or less, yeah. I think my family is very like discussion based. Like we always are talking about something, and sometimes my friends are also like, "Oh, you talk to your parents about that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I talk to my parents about everything."
Are your parents that?
My mom is a physician in King Faisal, so
so she makes things
easier.
Smoother.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, I just want to emphasize there are only two people. Only two people do all of that.
So there'll be more maybe. Hopefully next year.
Yeah.
Preview.
Right. That's free promotion here. Join their team. So, Sarah, aside from Arab News, you also had a whole article written about you in Haque magazine. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, I guess. Yes, so the Haque magazine article actually came to a surprise to me. I think it was at a time when I wasn't even posting that much on healthcare. I was like this close to kind of giving up because I was like, oh my gosh, I think I was working on EndoRepro and I was just trying to like get through the blog. I did not care about anything else. And she reached out and she said that she was really interested in knowing about the founder of the account and like how she is publishing and like the process and what I was doing as a woman living in Saudi, like how was I contributing to the kingdom. And it was a very interesting perspective that she had brought out in the interview. The magazine, honestly, I had no idea what it was. And then I slowly like told a few friends here and there, and they were like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, hey, do you know it?" And they're like, "I grew up reading that magazine." And then slowly, when you hear something and you get exposed to it, you start seeing it everywhere. So when I would go to salons, when I would go to offices, I would start seeing it on table counters, and I'm like, "Oh wait, this is a big deal." And I think it was a really great opportunity. I think it was like my first like big like article, big like interview, and I was really excited for it, and it was really cool.
Did the publisher tell you how she got exposed to your account or your posts? Or?
Honestly, I still wonder to this day. I was too starstruck in the moment to ask, so I have no idea how it came about, but I think it came after we posted some post about the different resources available in Saudi, and that one got like a lot of traction. So maybe like it happened through there. I remember like friends just telling me like, oh, do you know this person? I'm like, no, why would I know this person? Like, oh, they reposted your post, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, I'm so happy that all of this is getting out there.
And inshallah to many more articles about you. So aside from هذا الخير, going back to social media, I remember 2 months ago I was on Twitter just scrolling, and I saw this post. I think it was from you or someone posted it about you. It was flying a plane. Someone was flying a plane, and I think the caption was I miss flying or something. So for those who don't know, Sarah has a private pilot license, right?
I would say on the way of getting there.
Yeah? So tell us about that.
I don't even know where to start because it just came so sporadically that like one day I would like joke around with my dad that like, oh, I want to go fly. And he's like, yalla, okay, let's go. And we headed over to Thamama where they have an aviation academy, and they have this I had my first like test flights over there where the instructor kind of like took you on a test ride.
So wait, how old were you?
I was, I think, 16.
So the idea came, was it before you were 16 or like?
I think the idea was probably like beforehand. It was just kind of like a joke where it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna fly or something, but like just randomly like, okay, let's go, let's do it. And subhanallah, like we were able to do all of these lessons and fly, and it was possibly like the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. I think sometimes I even tell my friends, like they bring it up and then I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. Like I still don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some very interesting hobbies here on the podcast, but we've never had a person flying airplanes at such a young age. So you said you started getting interested in that at 16, and then which should make you one of the youngest, female pilots in Saudi Arabia. I think that's also what we read. So how did that happen?
It was very sporadic. I think when we first started doing this, it was back in Houston and where I usually live. And it was on this like really cute airfield, tiny airfield called Ellington Airfield. And I actually did it with my brother, so he doesn't really like publicize this a lot. It's like he was doing the lessons in another plane alongside me. I think back on my first test flight, my first flight that like was booked down and all written down. And my instructor was this like 70, 80-year-old Vietnam War veteran. And subhanAllah, wow, like he had more energy than me. He was like checking the oil vault constantly, like jumping around the plane, fixing the flaps, fixing the wings, and like he was just like the most active 80-year-old man I've ever seen. But I remember when we were first taking off, I was so scared because I'm like, I'm going to crash this plane and this guy is going to like have like the most traumatic flight of his life, like because of me. And every other minute I'm like looking over to check if he's okay, not even me, not even if I was okay. But I remember taking off from the airfield, and the sound of the little airplane that I would fly, the propeller would just sound so rusty. It would sound so like ancient to me that I was like, okay, I was like, I'm gonna do my du'as from now, like it's gonna end it. I'm not going to survive this. But alhamdulillah, like it was the most smooth flight of my life. We took off and we just did like laps around like the airfield, and he got me used to some of the instruments that were inside the plane. And and then he popped open the hood of the little plane, and he told me, like we went at a higher altitude, and he was just like, okay, now take your hands off of the yoke of the plane and just like put your fingers out and feel the clouds. And it was so chilly. I remember feeling like I'm going to get like Raynaud's syndrome or something because it was so cold, and I could feel like the moisture like developing on my fingers. And I remember like that moment very distinctively because it was just a very surreal experience to me. And ever since then, like it's just been something that like I really cherish. And although I used to drive my instructor like crazy with the amount of times I would come in late, and the amount of times I would ask him, "Hey, what did this do? Like, what is this again?" Or like, how do I level my nose when I'm going when I'm like stalling, which is like when you're putting the nose of your plane too high and like you need to like level it out so it's able to like fly smoothly.
So that was all in Houston, right?
All in Houston.
So what did you do over here? Because I know you did something in Tamama, I guess.
That was just like the initial stage of it was here in Tamama. This, I think I spent most of my summers in Houston. So
okay, so it was during summers that you would go and actually practice there and take lessons.
Yeah.
So what stage are you at right now, like regarding your license?
I've done my ground training, which is like a bunch of physics that I've had to do. I remember thinking when I was first enrolling in med school, I was like, oh, thankfully I won't have to do any more physics. And then I had to do so much when I was doing the ground school of like just like learning like the basics and learning like what's the mechanism of like how the plane is flying. So I'm able to like if somehow something happens or something, like I'm always able to like fix it by like using my like intuition and like all I've learned from the ground training.
You can never escape physics.
I can never escape physics. Even my dad, like he like pulls up some random like math or physics by like looking around the world. He's like, oh yeah, this works by this mechanism. I'm like, Paul, please leave your engineer brain at home. Like,
yeah, I guess we can never escape it.
We're never able to escape it.
Yeah. Okay, so right now you said you still have your written exam, which you will do soon.
I still have the written exam. Yes. So I've done the ground training. I just have the written exam, and I have a couple more hours to clock in. But I think with like how life goes, like subhanAllah, like you had COVID, you just had a lot of like interruptions like throughout the years that like I haven't had the time to continue for a while. So I know that when I get back, I'm going to have to start from from the first point again and like start again. But it was so worth it, so I don't mind doing it 50 times over.
So you do have the plans to like continue and actually get your full license?
Yes, I do.
That's interesting. So when you started wanting to fly at 16, did you think about making it as a career, or was it just like, no, you've always wanted it to be a hobby?
I think I had not even started driving at that point. Like I did not know how to drive a car when I first started.
I'm gonna get to that.
When I first started my pilot's license, I think it was more or less like it was kind of like it was a hobby. Like I would say it was more like a hobby. My dad had enrolled for like 3 months into a flight into the Air Force for like 3 months, and then he dipped. And he always used to speak about like, like, oh, like he knew so much about planes. And I remember thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be nice like to fly a plane?
Okay, so you would say you were kind of influenced by your dad's interest in
I think it was like kind of like an opportunity like for him. He even when he sees us like go fly up, and he's just like, oh, it's like he's more excited than we are. So it's exciting to see him like get excited about that. But like from like a young age we would get like model airplanes and like all of that. So like it just kind of like naturally like grew an interest for it.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about the car thing. Like you were 16, you aren't even allowed to drive a car. So imagine flying planes. So your family was kind of familiar with the whole idea, but how did your friends react to you like flying planes at 16?
It was some random day in high school, like random summer in high school, and I'm not like that. I wasn't that avid of a social media user, so I didn't really like publicize it on any account until like later on when I got older and stuff. I started using my socials. Yeah. And so I remember it was like chemistry, like IB chemistry. And I remember like my teacher was like asking all of us, oh, like, what did you do over the break and things? And it was like 2 truths and a lie. And I was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to bring this up. And I just kind of dropped the bomb there. And I think I said like 2 like really like realistic like things. And I said like, and I now know how to fly a plane. And everyone's like, oh, flying the plane, that's a lie, easy. And then I was like, nope. that's how like I like introduced the topic and I like let people know.
Well, hopefully we'll see you flying solo very
Hopefully,
soon.
inshallah. Maybe you'll see me like from the mama over here. I'll like say hi to Al-Faisal too.
You never know.
Yeah.
طب Sarah, what's next? Because we see the variation, you know, from healthcare to piloting to you can basically expect anything at this point. What would you say is next for Sarah?
I think I find a lot of solitude and I find a lot of peace in trying to be unconventional and trying like to step out of like, I wouldn't say comfort zone, but I would say step out of like the norm. And like if I see, I like to think of myself as a proactive person. And if I see like an issue or if I see like something that should be addressed or if I see like a possible like opportunity, I try to seize it as much as I can. And again, I'm only human. I can only do as much as I like, as much as my body and like my time allows me to do. But I think that's like kind of like the beauty in it. I think like I don't really know always like what's next, but I just know that like whatever I do, inshallah, like it's always with the right intentions. It's with like the ulterior like with the ulterior motive of like, you know, everything I do has to come back and always like help me like achieve more for not just this dunya but for like the akhirah. And yeah, just like make sure like everything I do in the future is not just like self-centered, it's like something that will benefit others. I think that's like something that drives me, is like I don't want to just live a life where I'm only satisfying myself. I want to like do things for others as well. And inshallah, like I get the opportunity to do that over time.
Inshallah. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. It was a very, very light and interesting conversation. Well, hopefully we'll meet you again in 2 years' time with new accomplishments. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. This episode was prepared by the scout Leanne Alhabib and edited by the sound engineer Abdurrahman Bakhtiyan. And yeah, see you in the next episode.